Zoomers love gardening.
I take out my aggressions in the garden.
It keeps us happy and healthy.
It's the cheapest therapy in town.
But how do we keep in touch with nature as we age?
Go outside for a walk and try to observe all the different senses that touch you.
On this episode, the power of plants. We know there are many benefits to being outside, and science proves it. Nature lowers blood pressure, boosts our mood, benefits immunity, and decreases levels of stress and anxiety. But not all of us are born gardeners. So where do we start? It doesn't matter whether we have a backyard or an apartment patio. Gardening is for everyone. To learn how we can make the most of our garden space, we're going to visit Gary Lewis at Phoenix Perennials.
Some people say gardening is the slowest performing art.
I don't know anything about plants. All I know is I love them and I can't live without them.
Well, nobody can. I mean, us as humans wouldn't be here without plants. So.
Well, tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, they're the basis for the whole food web, all the way up from phytoplankton in the oceans to the plants that grow on land, that all the animals eat, that all the insects visit. So plants are primal.
How many plants do you have here?
Well, somewhere over 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah.
And they come from all over the world, you were saying?
We bring in plants from all over the world, yeah. Every year we grow them ourselves here at the nursery and make them available to Canadian gardeners. So we bring in plants from India, from Japan, from South Africa, from all over Europe, from all over the States. You know, there are people who specialize in growing certain kinds of plants all over the world. So I hunt down those different nurseries, those different people, and then I import those, and then we grow the plants on here ourselves.
One thing I appreciate about places like yours is you don't have to figure this out on your own.
No, we're here to hold your hand.
Right? So I walk in here and I'm like, oh gosh, where do I even start?
You know, first of all, it's about understanding the place that you have, so your space. And again, we go back to the light, the water,
and the soil.
And the soil.
If I wanted to start my 101 garden, and I love flowers, you've got 5,000 things here. What would you say to someone like me?
Well, we're definitely going to want to choose some perennials and maybe some shrubs that have multi-season interest or plants that bloom for a really long time. So across Canada, we have a lot of different climate zones. Ontario, for instance, is zone 5, zone 6. Here out in BC, we are zone 8. But think of it as in the north, we're at 0, so like freezing, and in the tropics, we're 12. So Canada is all divided up into zones by how cold we get in the winter. So this is a hardy geranium.
Oh, what a pretty plant.
And so a few years back now, a new one popped up called geranium Roseanne. And Roseanne was different than the other geraniums because rather than blooming for 3 or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it would bloom for 5 months.
And what is this?
That's another kind of hydrangea. So for our cold climate gardeners, these are hydrangeas you can grow on the prairies. So this is a paniculata type hydrangea. So rather than a big round mop head like the blues and the pinks, we get a conical shape or a cone shape.
This is a charming plant.
Yeah, so we were talking about butterflies earlier and talking about supporting pollinators. So we had our first monarch butterfly in 21 years here at the nursery just the other day. So these are milkweeds. And so, you know, we as gardeners have become really aware of supporting pollinators, supporting our native bees, supporting butterflies and moths and beetles and hummingbirds. Not only does it, you know, support these valuable creatures who pollinate our crops, but they're also delightful.
Yeah.
You know, when you see a hummingbird, I mean, it makes, just like a flower, it makes you slow down. And it makes you stop and enjoy the beauty of something. You know, your blood pressure drops, your heart rate decreases, and your whole afternoon is happy because
I'm calming down just by your description. So imagine when it's real. Gary has given us tips for building our own garden space, no matter where we live in Canada. But how do those gardens help us heal our bodies?
Health-wise, you know, keeps you supple, keeps you strong. I always say it's good for your soul.
We're learning how we can all make gardening a more significant part of our lives. Kelly has spent her life in healthcare and in her current role uses horticultural therapy to help residents in long-term care. To learn more about how plants can help us heal our minds and bodies, we're going to talk to horticultural therapist Kelly Legault. You're not a horticulturist, so we know that that's a different line.
Yes, yes.
So what is a horticultural therapist?
A horticulture therapist is somebody who is educated in the healthcare field as well as the horticulture field. My background is in healthcare. That was my foundation for almost 30 years, and then I built the horticulture side of it to become a horticulture therapist. It's the Canadian Horticulture Therapy Association that is the governing body. This is not a new therapy. In 1817, the father of psychiatry, Benjamin Rush, created the concept of horticulture therapy. It was used post-war for our soldiers when they came back with obviously several different traumatic ailments, physical, cognitive, emotional, and their spirits were broken. And they found that getting them outside, walking, forest bathing, as we call it now, going for a walk in nature, or plowing the fields and getting their hands in the dirt was a very healing process for them.
One of the best ways to get started in the garden is to join a club. Groups like the Richmond Garden Club often have communal gardens. So no matter where you live or what your experience level is, you can get your hands in the dirt. We asked club president Linda to tell us more.
When I'm feeling down, when it becomes overwhelming, my husband picks up and brings me here for a walk. It's just a place that restores you. The park that we're in right now is called Pollock Neighborhood Park. It's about 8 acres in total. And how it originated was a family, the Pollock family, moved into the land, clear-cut the land in the 1930s. He clear-cutted, and then when the Lionscape Bridge opened, I think it was 1937, the day it opened, he went across the bridge, picked up some seedlings, tree seedlings, conifers, deciduous, and planted them all over this park.
I've been in the Richmond Garden Club for years. What I mostly am doing at Pollock Park is mentoring other gardeners and acting as a master gardener. And we are having new students every year. And so I'm just rounding out their education.
I started volunteering here in about September. So I've been here learning a tremendous amount from Jill and Linda, who know so much, and enjoying all the community people who keep coming by and wanting to be involved.
I've learned so much. It's like going to school with like-minded people in an incredible environment. It's just, I love coming. It's the cheapest therapy in town. Out of my entire health regime, this is the most important part of it.
I've been gardening here now 10 years. Linda asked me before I retired from work if I could help out, and before that I said no, don't have enough time on the weekends. I was coming up to retirement. I said yeah, I got time now and I could see my way clear of helping you out.
It's fantastic how much people who visit here appreciate the place, and we do have a very friendly, easygoing group of gardeners. And so I come on the days that my fellow gardeners are here because they're good company. So you make new friends for sure. Replace some larger.
Nice thing about being in the park here, there's a lot of new members now. I just got myself about 50 new friends without even trying, so that's great.
And they, hi Noni. I'm 74 now. That you are doing everything you can to keep that sense of community, your mental health and your physical health. This gives you everything. I have strength for picking up wheelbarrows and logs. I have mental health because I redesign a garden. In my mind, I create a garden.
Health-wise, you know, keeps you supple, keeps you strong. I always say it's good for your soul. And I mean, it's just beautiful being out here. You know, it makes you feel good.
Everything I'm doing is going to the well-being of me personally, and I benefit from being with my buddies at the same time.
Up next, our regular segment with Chef Julian Bond. In every episode, he teaches us how to make healthy, affordable, and Zoomer-friendly recipes. Today, we're going to his garden.
The end of summer, perfect time for a tour of a chef's garden. Let's give you a look around my garden. It's not Instagram friendly, but it's a real garden with real fruits, herbs, and vegetables that are actually used to feed my family and friends sometimes. Here's a tip. Basil, when you have the beautiful tips, prune it all the time. I'll show this one. Do you see where it branches out? And I've got little ones right there. That's where I'm gonna snip it. And if you keep on doing that, you'll never run out of basil. Got the apple. We're gonna serve that with our pork belly today that's confit, cooked in the same wood that came from this tree. Beautiful caprese salad. We're gonna take the plums that I picked this summer. They're gonna be turned into a jam to go with that. It's gonna be delicious. Welcome to my garden. Today we're gonna make a caprese salad. What makes a caprese salad? First of all, you have to put the accent in there, as you say, caprese. And it's from Italy, so think of the Italian flag. Red, green, and white. So our red is gonna come from our tomatoes today. Some beautiful fresh mozzarella is our white, and our green is gonna come in the form of basil from the garden. And what we're gonna do before we put this together is a very simple salad. We're gonna serve it with our confit pork. We're gonna make a dressing to go with our salad. So what we're gonna do is take our tomatoes that I froze and put them into my blender. I'm gonna throw a bit of basil in for flavor. Habanero, just one, because it's quite spicy. Maybe half. Now, I need an onion. This is my red onion. It's lovely the way it is, but I'm gonna add some garlic, and this garlic's been roasted already in olive oil, really slow. And one more ingredient, horseradish, not the creamy kind. Let's blend it. It's gonna make some noise. This would make a delicious tomato soup at this point. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this, pour it into our bowl, and we're going to tie it. And then as it's all together, I'm going to take my wooden spoon, shove it through my opening, and I'm going to let it naturally strain. We're just going to take our tomatoes, and we're going to slice them. Our fresh mozzarella. So you want it when it's firmed up, just a little bit. You see that tears? Hold its shape. I'm gonna use the oil from my garlic. This is balsamic that I just reduced just a little bit. The acidity from our tomatoes, that gorgeous oil. And then to finish, sea salt, of course, and our basil garnish. So for friends and family, vegetarians, or just a healthy salad, great. But for me, I need some protein. And that's our beautiful pork belly. Let's grab it from the fire. Enjoy.
I'm speaking with horticultural therapist Kelly Legault, and in her current role uses horticultural therapy to help residents in long-term care. We've seen how joining clubs can help us stay connected to plants even if we no longer have our own gardens. But some of us still face barriers.
Nature is something that's instilled in us, in our long-term memories. And for those who can't go outside, you can always bring the outdoors in, which is something I love to do, bringing the plants in. So it's a visual thing, it's a tactile thing, bringing the sounds of birds, playing it on the TVs, you know, so it sounds like you're in the forest. You know, opening the window if somebody can't get outside and getting that fresh air and helping them relax. You know, when you're laying in bed and there's nothing going on and your mobility is very limited, to play some soft music of birds and to open the window, those are two things that they normally maybe wouldn't get the opportunity to have, and that is therapeutic horticulture.
The Garden Buddies program is just one of many that uses horticultural therapy to help at-risk seniors in our communities. Dean Atwell traveled to Boundary Bay to find out more.
The Garden Buddies program is a really wonderful community-based therapeutic horticulture program. It's geared towards seniors mostly, but we do welcome anyone in the community to join in.
In an era where digital screens dominate daily life and stress levels are at an all-time high, an age-old hobby is gaining recognition for its therapeutic benefits. Gardening, a pastime once associated just with retirees and hobbyists, is now being hailed as a potent tool for both mental and physical health.
Social aspects are very important, so this way we can gather with people who are all very interested in gardening, share what we know, support one another, as well as have our hands on doing things that we no longer have space to do.
The program is very much senior-led, led by the participants, so we use the input and ideas from the participants when we're designing the program. We do lots of different gardening activities. We have themed beds, like cut flowers so that we can make flower arrangements.
We brought these little jars so we could make an arrangement, but obviously this jar isn't going to be big enough for mine. No. But I'll take it home and do whatever I do, but that was part of the thing today, is flower arranging and the walk in the garden.
But look what our friend Victoria's doing here.
I'm seeding. Populate.
This is truly a special program. One of the things I love most about it is just that it is led by the seniors. So there's so much input and there's so much investment because the participants have such a role in designing the program and delivering it. Anyone recognize this variety?
Russian.
Red Russian, yeah. This is our BC variety. The social benefits of the program are definitely huge. We have a lot of participants who, you know, maybe we're new to the area and are at risk of isolation. So they come to this program, they meet a network of their peers and their community, and they build that connection here, but that definitely spills over into their life. So it really does hit all these different domains of wellness for sure.
According to a recent report by the British Journal of Sports Medicine, regular gardening can reduce the impacts of heart disease or stroke by as much as 30%. Dean Atwell, CARPe diem.
There's a lot of physical benefits as well in gardening. Can you explain a little bit more on that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've witnessed people who have come into care or that are living in their own homes and they have arthritis really bad. And immobility is one of the biggest causes of the arthritis getting worse or cramping up. So, you know, with gardening, you're using your hands a lot. You're using those fine motor skills to keep everything moving. Gardening is known to be one of those modalities that will decrease your heart rate if you're anxious, lower your blood pressure, you know, being outside and being calmer, and just walking and using all of those hip flexor muscles that get a little tight and rigid as we're getting older, but it's also really wonderful for balance. And balance is one of the biggest issues as you age, is that we're not using our balance muscles anymore. So when you're out in the yard, it's a good idea to use your left side and your right side equally so you can keep them equally strong.
And I've seen raised flower beds.
The raised beds are wonderful because they are also wheelchair accessible. I think it's wonderful because unfortunately our hips, as we get older, it's not always great to bend right down to the ground because it's hard to get up.
And the knees too.
And the knees.
They go.
And the
ankles.
Knees. Yes.
Everything
exactly.
hurts after a while. If I'm a viewer watching you right now, and I'm just not sure if this is for me, what would you say to me?
I would probably say be very observant and go outside for a walk and try to observe all the different senses that touch you on a short 10-15 minute walk. There's no pressure from nature. There's nobody asking you a question. There's nobody judging you and saying you have to be a certain way. Just sitting amongst yourself. And I would say practice that a couple times a week and see if you notice how you feel before and how you feel after.
That's just about it for the show, and we'll be back soon to wrap things up. But we can't leave without a word from CARPe President Rudy Boutignon.
Hi, I'm Rudy, President of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons. Gardening. It's obviously a great physical activity. You do a lot of bending, stretching, reaching, lifting, walking, and of course, the metaphor of regeneration is a beautiful thing. But I never thought much about it as a social activity. And one afternoon, while waiting for my wife to come out of an appointment, I observed a woman working on her front yard. And over the course of about 20 or 30 minutes, several people stopped and would remark on the garden. Some seemed like neighbors, others seemed like strangers. It was a great sense of community. Well, CARPe is a community. And if you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to check out our website, carpe.ca, and join our movement.
As a city dweller, I miss getting my hands in the dirt like I did summers when I was a little girl at my family farm. It's not only about being in nature, but actively maintaining it, creating a beautiful landscape that brings so much pleasure and peace. I hope you too have been motivated to get outside. And that's the show. And remember, as our CARPE chairman Moses Neimer always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So carpe diem and seize your day.